Hi, this is Tom Soane, and I wanted to give you a bit of an outline or a bit of an overview of what true yield is versus fake yield, because I'm sorry, but I'll take a stab in the dark. It's about 90% of the property investors or people that want to get into property that I speak to that calculate yield in totally the wrong way. So I've decided off my own back to label that calculation as fake yield, because I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, it makes people buy properties that are not very good, or it makes people buy properties that perhaps aren't the best yield available. And by the way, yield is another way of saying the overall return on your money. And then it also makes people miss good opportunities that they probably should buy, but they don't. So what is true yield? Well, look, let me make it real simple, and I don't mean that as an insult. Everybody who's watching this is obviously intelligent, but maybe you're just getting something wrong. And remember, I always say there are no secrets with this stuff. There's just stuff you know and stuff you don't. And you have to learn it from somewhere, whether that's the internet or some person or a training course that you've paid money for, or a book or a magazine, whatever. It doesn't matter. You have to learn this stuff from somewhere, and then once you know it, you know it. But the problem is, you don't know what you don't know until you know that you don't know it. And I should probably coin that phrase. But anyway, what is true yield? Well, the common misconception, the common mistake that I see a lot of people make when they're calculating yield on a potential property investment is they work out the annual rent, and they just take the monthly rent, they times it by 12, and they divide that by the purchase cost. Now that might be the purchase price plus legal fees plus refurbishment costs plus stamp duty, blah 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 blah. How much did it cost you to buy that property? Well, that is wrong, and I'm really sorry if you've been calculating it like that, but that is wrong. That's what I call fake yield, because the money you've spent on that property is in the past. You cannot calculate the yield in that way. And I'm going to give you an example. You might be disagreeing with me here. There are probably lots and lots of property investors and experts that are disagreeing with me. But let me give you an example. If you buy a standard property that you're going to rent out for £100,000 and you've used £75,000 as a mortgage and £25,000 as a deposit, then your total investment in that property is £25,000, right? I think you all agree with me on that. The only money you've invested in that property, I'm just ignoring stamp duty and costs, etc. for now. But the only money you've invested in that property is the equity that you have put into it, the deposit that you put into it. Now, let's say you then spend another £25,000 doing that property up, and you have increased the value of that property to 200,000. I'm being very general here. Now, all of a sudden, you have spent £25,000 buying the property, £25,000 doing up the property, but your value of that property has increased to 200,000. So now you have £75,000 worth of equity. But you're going to mortgage that. You're going to refinance that. You wouldn't want to leave that amount of money in the property. So you're going to mortgage back out about 150 grand. So now you are leaving £50,000 as equity in the property. And sorry if I'm kind of getting ahead of everybody a bit here, but simple calculation is that the property is now worth 200,000, and the equity left in the property after you've refinanced it is 50,000. So now 50,000 is your investment, because we have to work on the now. Doesn't matter what you bought it for, doesn't matter what you've spent on it, because you've refinanced it, you've taken as much money out as you can. So now your investment is 50 grand. Whatever equity you're leaving in that property is your investment. Why? Because at any point you could sell that property and have that 50 grand in your pocket, but you're not. You're leaving it in that property, so now that's your investment. So now we have to calculate what the net profit is against your return on investment. And I'll make it real simple because I'm just sat here in my car making this all up from the top of my head. So what you would do is spend, I don't know, you get £800 a month rent, let's just say, and you're spending out £400 a month on your mortgage payment. And you're spending £100 a month on your management, maintenance, and all of those sorts of things, right? So you're receiving £800, you're spending out £500, your net is £300 per month. That's your net profit against your investment of 50 grand. So if you work that out, and I don't know the calculation for that, but it's probably somewhere around the 8 or 9%, I guess. Maybe that's a bit high, but anyway, what you get my calculation. So your net income against your total equity that you're leaving in the property, that you could have in your pocket, but you're leaving it in the property, that's your investment, and that's your return on investment. So now we calculate the yield. So let's say you're getting 8% return on your investment through your net rent income per year. We now have to add an appreciation, the growth in the value of that property. So let's just assume it's going to be 3% a year. That'll be fine. It's got to be above inflation, isn't it? Somewhere around that. So let's just say 3% a year. You're now getting 8% rental yield and you're getting 3% appreciation yield. So you're actually getting 11% on your money, because your money is the amount of money that's left in that property, because you could have that at any time. So I hope that makes sense. So now when you calculate what is a good property investment deal, you have to calculate it based on the true yield. Don't just calculate the purchase cost against the total monthly rent. That's just not the way it is, because that's not a true reflection of how your money is working for you. Because if you're purchasing that property for 100 grand, but you're using the mortgage lender's money, then that's not your investment. You're not putting that money in, and then you're not leaving that equity amount in. You're not leaving that mortgage value of 75 grand in that property. So when you calculate your next property deal, I want you to work out, once the job's done, once everything's finished and you've rented that property out, how much equity have you left in that property? That is your investment. And what is the net return per month, or per year on your investment? And be ruthless with that. You know what? The more expenses you can include in that calculation, the better. And if you're not going to manage it, you're going to manage it yourself, that you will have to allocate a certain cost to that. You'll have to pay certain people to do certain things: gas safety, electrical installation, condition report, EPCs, and so on and so on and so on. All those things, tenant finding, what have you. There's going to be a cost involved in all of that. So your net monthly income is your return on investment. Your equity that you're leaving in the property is your investment, because you could have that at any time. And so now you can work out your true yield. Now remember, the true yield calculation is an ever evolving number, because every 2 years you remortgage that property and you get the growth out. If your property has grown by 10 grand in 2 years, then you get £7,500 back out every 2 years, or whatever it is your mortgage is affording you to do. So then your true yield calculation keeps evolving and keeps changing. The idea is, and look, this is just my opinion. Now, you might have a different idea, you might have a different strategy, but I'm just telling you what is the true calculation for how your money is working for you. There is no alternative to that. You might work things out different. I'm just telling you, if you're thinking 100% money, then, and how your money works for you, this is how that calculation works. So now you know. So next time you go and work out a property, work out what equity you're going to leave in that property, work out the net return on that investment, and calculate your true yield. So my properties, my target is a minimum 15. My ideal is 20%. That's a cracking return on investment for me. If there's a particularly safe property, I will take 12. That's my scale. 12%, 15%, 20%. I'll be happy with it. Anything more than that, I'm buzzing. So I hope that helps. How have you always calculated your yield? How have you always calculated your return on investment? I'd be really interested to know. Now, do also remember that a lot of people miss, if you've got a rental property that's renting out for £500 a month, let's say, and your boiler goes, that's your net profit gone for the next 2 years. So higher rental properties can account for those things. Lower rental properties are slightly higher risk for those things. So I hope that helps, and I hope I haven't imposed my over passionate and over excited will on that topic, because you know what, I see so many people get that wrong, and in some cases it leads me to buy good properties that other people don't buy because they don't think it's a good yield, and I can see that the true yield on my money is very good. So look, if you know anybody that's looking to make their money really work for them, then this is a really good video of how they can get a different perspective on their money. This is how look, my philosophy on everything is that every single pound I get, I want to make it work for me. I don't want it sitting in the bank. There's nothing worse than just having money sat in the bank doing nothing. Nothing worse. Oh, okay, there's a lot worse than that. My point is that you could be doing more with your money than just sitting in the bank earning 0.0001%. You could even have it earning 0.0002%. Something's better than nothing. So I'll leave that with you, and hopefully that makes a bit of sense to everybody, and hopefully you get a bit of value out of that. If you did, share it round. Don't forget, I'll be talking a lot more about true yield in my podcast, which really shows you how you can make that true yield and how you can make your money work for you. So subscribe to that, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. And I look forward to the next video and speaking to you all soon. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.